Good morning. That's better. I am substituting for Chairman Mack today with regard to the Long Island Committee meeting. And first item is public comments. Do we have any public speakers?
Mr. Chairman, there are 3 public speakers. The first public speaker is Jeffrey Supan.
Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Zupan. I'm Senior Fellow for Regional Plan at Regional Plan Association, the not-for-profit Tri-State Regional Planning and Advocacy Organization. The announcement that the Long Island Railroad will delay the construction of a Long Island Railroad third track project is very disappointing. The project would provide much-needed rail service within Long Island and give many Long Island residents and workers an alternative to $4.50 a gallon gas prices on the island. The LIRR has long been a sleeping giant, unable to fully serve the island because of the constraints imposed by the limited 2-track, 11.5-mile stretch of its main line. This bottleneck is necessarily programmed to serve its major market into Manhattan and consequently cannot serve other markets well. For example, it is impossible to reach Mineola, the Nassau County seat, from points west during most commuting times. After 6:39 a.m., the next train is 97 minutes later after the start of working hours. These gaps in the schedule are prevalent throughout the system and render the LIR a non-factor for much inter-island travel. For these reasons, the third track project needs to be implemented as quickly as possible. Most importantly, the East Side Access Project cannot be held hostage to any delay in implementing the third track. If the third track is not built in time to provide the main line capacity to fully utilize East Side access, then interim measures should be implemented to meet this objective. The proposed study of alternatives, many of which could have value even after the third track is implemented, is a prudent measure that should be pursued. East Side access is a critical project for Long Island and the tri-state region, and that cannot be disputed. East Side access will save up to 45 minutes a day for 160,000 riders, including 65,000 peak period commuters, and will allow them to avoid an extra transfer at Penn Station and the cost and time of extra subway, taxi, or bus rides. Moreover, the 2/3 increase in commuting capacity to Manhattan opens up new services and will give Queens residents the option of using the LIRR, foreclosed to them today because peak trains are full. This will have the effect of reducing subway crowding as some subway riders switch to the LIRR. The impact of the improved commuter rail and subway service will reduce road traffic as well, as an estimated 6,000 cars will be taken off the road, over 300,000 fewer miles will be driven, congestion, carbon emissions, pollution, and dependence on foreign oil will be reduced. The added capacity into Manhattan would open up options for more Amtrak service and direct rail service to Manhattan from Kennedy Airport. And the Grand Central Terminal, for the first time, travelers can use the combination of the LIRR and Metro North to make trips by rail between the northern suburbs and Long Island and Kennedy Airport. Long Island, which is currently suffering from economic stagnation, will be given a boost by both East Side access and the third track. East Side access would make areas near rail stations on Long Island more valuable by giving direct access to Manhattan's East Side and their high-paying jobs. The third track will provide intra-island travel and reverse commuting options and help Long Island's economy as well. With high gas prices, Long Islanders need all the transit options they can get. The potential delay of the third track is a painful reminder that the MTA is well short of the money to fund all the projects we need, and underscores the importance of Albany's role in finding ways to finance our transit system. Without the support of the state legislature, we will continue to face painful choices. With their support, we can move forward with all these critical transit projects whose importance is highlighted with each uptick of oil prices. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second speaker is Kate Slavin from the Tri-State Transportation Campaign.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I am Kate Slevin, Executive Director of the Tri-State Transportation Campaign, a regional nonprofit organization that works for a more balanced and transit-friendly region. The recent report of a possible delay in the Long Island Railroad Mainline Third Track project is bad news for our region's economic and environmental health. This project is critical to Long Island's sustainable growth. It will enable reverse commuting, provide increased transit service throughout Long Island, get people out of cars, and facilitate more development around transit. Right now, New York City and Long Island residents who commute east to jobs on Long Island face long waits for transit, over 2 hours on some lines during peak periods. This must change if Long Island is to flourish and livability is to increase. We understand why Long Island Railroad President Helena Williams will request a $100,000 study today for alternatives to increase capacity on the Long Island Railroad main line. She is right to worry about the future timeline of projects like the third track and to consider near-term improvements. But we believe the MTA Board should question the study's purpose and scope of work. Is it an interim step, or is it being studied as a potential alternative to the third track project? Will the study look at ways to increase reverse commute transit service, or will it only allow more trains to go into Manhattan? And what is the new timeline for the LAR third track project? The MTA says this project is on track, but on track means moving forward at a snail's pace. Only about $200 million of the $1.5 billion needed to construct this project is in the existing capital program, and President Williams has said it is unlikely that the project will receive funding in the next program, which will run from 2010 to 2014. Transportation projects certainly take years to complete, but there comes a point when transit advocates question whether a delay means much more. We believe this individual project and recent news illustrates a much larger problem, our elected officials' inability to raise the money we need for our transit system. This month, the MTA will request $2.7 billion in projects be cut from its existing capital program. It is estimated that about $18 to $20 billion of the $30 billion needed for the next capital program is not funded. The recent best chance at raising new revenue, congestion pricing, died in Albany just a few months ago. We have very high hopes for the Richard Ravitch and the Ravitch Commission recommendations, but ultimately the success of the recommendations will hinge on whether our elected officials in Albany take action. Fuel prices continue to rise and transit ridership is up. LAR ridership increased 5% between 2006 and 2007, 5.8% between April of 2007 and April of 2008. Ridership on Long Island bus is up 4.8% from the first half of last year. Construction costs are skyrocketing, with the price of steel in New York City up 42% over the past 2 years. More people are looking to live in walkable communities where transit is accessible. A changing climate and changing lifestyle choices are heralding us into a new era in which transit will be even more vital than it has been in the past. All this, along with the recent news of the possible delay in the third track, means that our elected officials need to take a stand for our transit network. We cannot allow these transit projects to fizzle out. We need action from Albany and ask our elected officials to fund the projects that are vital and necessary for our region to flourish and grow in a sustainable manner. The LAR third track is part of that future. We request that the Long Island Committee work hard to keep this project on track. Thank you.
Thank you.
The third speaker is Jerry Bringman of the LIR Commuter Council.
Good morning. I'm Jerry Bringman of the Long Island Railroad Commuters Council. As everyone knows, Long Island Railroad ridership is booming. It's my understanding that today the Long Island Railroad will report that the May year-to-date ridership is up 4.6% above 2007. We all know that the price of gas averaging $4.32 on Long Island is a big motivator. This should be a time of investment. It is absolutely not a time to cut major capital projects. The current East Side Access project will reduce commuting time for many Long Islanders by 20 minutes. The Long Island Railroad's proposed third track project will bring express rail service to thousands of Long Islanders and substantially improve the railroad's on-time performance. It is extremely upsetting at this point in time, where Long Island riders are finally flocking to the rails, that the state of New York is not investing the necessary money to ensure the completion of these projects. Back in October 2007, Assemblyman Richard Brodsky presented the MTA Board with the names of 46 legislators and urged the agency to embrace the offer of help from Albany. Mr. Brodsky said that the group would seek a bigger share of taxpayer funds collected by Albany for mass transit. He said, "All we are asking you to do is to ask you to give us the money. It seems reasonable. Please ask us for more money." Well, we know the MTA has been asking in general, but what I would like to request is that the MTA and this particular group go to those 46 legislators, remind them of their offer, and tell them that it's time to step to the plate. On a related note, today I understand that this committee will be asked to request to fund an examination of near-term track, train, platform, and signal improvements that can increase capacity on the main line. The Long Island Railroad Commuters Council wants you very much to support this request to ensure that the Long Island Railroad is able to provide the highest train throughput, highest rider capacity, and most reliable infrastructure possible for the East Side Access project. And with third track in jeopardy, this becomes even more critical. So we very much want you to put this one through. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the end of public speakers.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are no other public speakers.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of June 18th.
I so move them.
Second. Any questions? And on that note, David told me there'd be problems today. He didn't tell me that would be it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Long Island Bus. Mr. President.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I will begin the Long Island Bus July operating report with the status of operations. Please note the data reflects the period through the end of May. All performance indicators and operating stats within acceptable range, and I'm proud to say that the mean distance between failures for May is 42% better than May of 2007 levels. Long Island Bus showed improvement in all aspects of system safety. Lost time injury rate of 2.7 through May was 52% better than last year, and our customer injury rate continues to be excellent. Through May, the actual rate is 36% better than our 2008 goal. Financial report, expenses for the first 5 months of the year were 0.7% lower than the adopted budget, despite a $1.2 million overrun for fuel expenses, which is around 28% above our budget. Overall ridership in May was 1% lower than budget and 2.4% lower than May of '07, and this was mainly due to having one less weekday in May of 2008 versus 2007. However, the average daily ridership demonstrates positive growth from last year. The average weekday ridership was 2.5% higher, Saturday 5.3% higher, and Sunday 4.3% higher than '07 levels. On a year-to-date basis for the first 5 months of the year, fixed route ridership was 2.3% over budget and 3.2% higher than the same period last year. Paratransit ridership showed similar growth. For the year-to-date, Able Ride ridership is 2.7 over budget and 4% greater than last year. Revenue followed the same favorable track as ridership. Total revenue was 2.8% above the adopted budget and 5.5% higher than last year. Subsequent to the merging of the 3 bus operational management teams, Long Island Bus will be advancing its fall schedule revisions at the completion of the summer season. With the resources of the combined bus management team, minor adjustments in schedules will be made to maximize service delivery within its current resources. Work plan. We have one work plan item to present this month, the second quarter capital program. During the second quarter 2008, MTA Long Island Bus accepted delivery of 63 paratransit buses, bringing the average age of the paratransit fleet to 1.9 years. Long Island Bus has also made significant strides in the modification of its paratransit facility. Initial beneficial use is expected to be around the third quarter of 2008. The final phase of the fixed route vehicle system integration project was completed. This phase makes full use of the production network, providing the ability to monitor fuel pressure readings. And what that means in plain English is that we're able to wirelessly determine how much fuel is in a vehicle, and then when that vehicle pulls in at night, determine whether it needs to go through a fuel station or does it just get parked and it can go out the next day if it's got a sufficient amount of fuel. In addition, the intermodal communication project at the Mineola Intermodal Facility is in its final stages of completion with the installation of electronic signage and interactive kiosks. Under procurement action items, with respect to the last section of action items and procurements, there are no action items this month, but there are 3 procurements for your approval. One is a non-competitive contract, and the other 2 are competitive contracts. The first is a sole source non-competitive miscellaneous service contract with H.O. Penn Machinery Company from parts and repairs on Caterpillar CNG engines at the Mitchell Field and Rockville Center. It's a 2-year contract in the amount not to exceed $100,000. I ask the committee for its approval.
I move it.
Second, any questions on? No question.
The
All in
sec-
favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next.
The second item is a competitively bid miscellaneous service contract utilizing a competitively bid Nassau County contract with Fire Command Company for the inspection, maintenance, and chemical fill recharge, repair, and testing of fire extinguisher equipment at all Long Island bus facilities. It's a 1-year contract, amount not to exceed $120,000. I ask the committee for its approval.
I move it.
Second, any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye.
The third item is a budget amendment to an estimated quantity contract with Atlantic Detroit Diesel Allison in the amount of $460,000 for the purchase of remanufactured parts for the Series 50 Reliability engines using an existing contract competitively bid by New York City Transit. The budget amendment is required to satisfy the anticipated needs through the contract term of 8/30/2010 due to the accelerated rebuild program and a higher-than-planned parts usage. I ask the committee for approval.
Move it.
Any questions? No. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Finally, the regional bus merger team consisting of managers from all 3 agencies has finished its evaluation of the 2 Long Island bus depots and will be finalizing its report with recommendation on adopting best practices within the depots.
We look forward to getting that as soon as possible because obviously that was one of the purposes of
Right.
the merger of the 3 entities was to try and make us as successful and productive as we can,
Right.
integrating so that people can actually go on one bus from one place to another place.
Right. And
Very
we have made some progress. We're rolling out some synthetic fluids. We're trying to extend our preventive maintenance interval schedule, and all of that at the end of the day saves us some money. So, and we're
Excellent.
looking then to put that money back into scheduling of the buses.
Excellent.
Okay? Thank you very
Any
much.
questions further? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Ms. President, Long Island Railroad.
Thank you, Commissioner. At this time, I would note that we have a number of work plan items which we'll cover under information section. We'll go directly to the financial report. Under the financial report, Mark Young will talk about our current financial information as well as expense actions proposed in the 2009 budget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Helena mentioned, I'll provide you with the regular monthly report on our financial condition. The MTA Budget Office asked us in advance of the MTA Board meeting next week to give you a high-level overview of some of the key expense components that are in the July plan that we've submitted for consideration this year. On the regular financial report, you know this meeting comes a little earlier in the cycle than the other committee meetings, and I frequently run into a dilemma because we have a lag in what I report to you on ridership numbers. So what I'm hoping to do from this point forward is verbally present to you on the more up-to-date information, but still include in the written report the written information from the prior month that I had always been giving to you before. This month, inadvertently, we had omitted the ridership report, which I've left on your table. It looks like this. It can be inserted at the end of page 21 in the report. And again, this is the May month ridership information. Through the month of June, which is the more up-to-date information, the Long Island Railroad has carried 43.6 million passengers, which is 4.6% growth over 2007. Actually, the year-to-date growth is the same as it had been through the month of May in the package I just referenced. We have a 4.3% growth rate in our core market, which is the commutation market, weekly and monthly ridership. And in addition, we have a 5.1% year-to-date growth rate in non-commutation. Based on our initial analysis of the June figures, it appears that the non-commutation performance is primarily attributable to strong one-way off-peak ridership and leisure travel. In fact, in the month, there was a 51% growth in leisure travel over last year, mostly attributable to Belmont, which was a Triple Crown year for Belmont, so we had greater ridership that day. And also our beach getaways were doing very well compared to last year. So that was all good news on the non-commutation side. Actual ticket sales also support those conclusions. Total ticket sales in June 2008 were 4.8% better than 2007. And commutation was up 2.4 and non-commutation was up 4.9. So again, those were all positive trends on the ridership side. As you know, we've discussed many times that there are many factors affecting ridership this year, including the March fare increase, rising gas prices, the sluggish economy perhaps. We continue to monitor these factors and try to best understand the impacts they're having on our business. For example, I pointed out last month that the Long Island Railroad periodically refines its onboard sales ridership estimates. We plan to continue to survey that data several times this year, and we'll advise you of the outcome of that. Of course, ridership translates into revenue. Total revenue collected year-to-date stands at $295 million, which is $9 million favorable to the budget. The ridership is the leading factor driving that growth. Through the end of May, we'd collected $201.8 million in fare box revenue, which is $4.9 million better than the budgeted projections. The remaining positive variance in total revenue that's not related to fare collection likely won't remain by the end of the year. It's mostly timing issues. On expenditures, total labor-related expenses through May are $395 million, which is $5.2 million or 1.3% favorable to the budget. Primary reason for this is the existence of a number of vacant positions, which is affecting both base payroll as well as fringe benefits costs for employees. Partially offsetting these savings is $4.4 million in overtime spending required to cover some of those posts. On the non-labor side, the railroad has experienced $21 million in favorable performance versus the budget through May. The majority of that variance is attributable to lower than anticipated inventory usage. The fare box ratio is 44% exactly through the end of May, which is almost 1%, a full percent better than it was last time I reported to you. So the summary I'd say there is everything looks good on the financial side for 2008. As I said, the MTA asked us to provide you with a high-level overview on the July plan. I'm pleased to report that the preliminary budget for 2009 reflects our commitment at the Long Island Railroad to containing expenditures while still supporting the critical mission of the railroad and the MTA. The proposed budget, non-reimbursable side, is $1.19 billion, which is only 3.4% greater than the 2008 mid-year forecast. I think that's important demonstration of really our continuous effort to remain an efficient operation, particularly when you consider that the CPI growth rate, Consumer Price Index increase over May to May, 07 to 08, was 4%. So we managed to contain growth within the CPI growth in the same period. In fact, if we were to exclude health insurance costs, which are a mandated cost for our employees that we have very little control over, that growth rate was 14.8%. So if you had excluded that from the equation, our growth would actually be less. It would be less than 2.7%. As expected, labor-related expenses make up the largest portion of our budget in 2009 at $83.2 million. Includes funding for 6,094 non-reimbursable positions, most of them in maintenance of equipment, transportation, and engineering. We anticipate and will be working towards achieving our budget target of a $5 million reduction in overtime spending. Of particular note is the non-labor budget. We propose to spend $358 million on these items in 2009, which is essentially flat when compared to 2008 forecast. The key to achieving this level of cost containment is our ability to hit the 1.5% program to eliminate the budget gap target that we were given by the MTA. We were able to achieve this through a series of cost-cutting measures that will not affect customer service. They include improved management of our vacation and sick leave time, lower than anticipated credit and debit card transaction fees, more efficient use of our emergency busing service, and re-estimates of retiree health insurance costs. In addition, we propose that the MTA consider offering a greater incentive to employees to opt out of health insurance coverage if they have a spouse who's already covered on another health insurance plan. If we increase the incentive to those employees, we would save approximately $10,000 per year per employee who voluntarily participated in that program. Despite these reductions, though, I do want to say that the July plan contains funding for many Long Island Railroad efforts that advance the MTA's core mission and priorities. In the area of customer satisfaction, the proposal contains an additional $600,000 to enhance station maintenance and funding to add a full-time staff person to support our new and strengthened Lost and Found operation, which just went, the new policy was introduced this week. Approximately $600,000 in new funding will support the Queens Interlocking and Jamaica Signal Tower consolidation projects, both critical steps towards improving service reliability. On the safety side, our platform gap mitigation program, very important in terms of improving customer and employee safety. The budget includes $7 million to address platform gap issues. In the area of cost effectiveness, we're proposing to add a staff person in the procurement department to improve inventory management. And of course, significant baseline funding already exists in the budget to support other initiatives that will improve on-time performance and increase mean distance between failure. That's a very high-level summary of the 2009 budget. There will be more details provided at the board meeting next week.
Thank you.
And at this time, we'll go to our operations report. Ray Kenny.
Good morning, everyone. The operating report starts on page number 22. And our overall on-time performance for June 2008 finished at 95.22%. That is a 30-year record for the month of June. And this is the third month in 2008 that we've had a monthly record. The year-to-date, June's off-peak on-time performance of 95.11% also set a 30-year record. And year-to-date on-time performance at the end of June in the following categories set a 30-year record, and that would be year-to-date overall, 95.56%, the AM rush, 95.58%, and the off-peak, which is 95.77%. And during the month of June, we had 7 100% rush hours, 4 of them in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Our MBDF exceeded the goal of 100,000 miles, both for the month-to-date and the year-to-date. Car availability was met each day. And the highlights for the month of June include the handling of more than 40,000 people to Belmont for the potential Triple Crown. We operated 47 extra trains, and none of the regular trains were delayed. Our Queens project, a major summer construction project, is proceeding on schedule, and we had the first of 2 signal cuts. This one on the Hempstead branch was completed successfully, and we had another highlight was our Shea Stadium service. The last weekend in June, we had the Subway Series, and we handled a total of about 24,000 customers. We ran 23 extra trains, and over the weekend, we handled about 16% of the gate of the people going to the game. We had one disappointing day, June 9th. That was an extremely hot day, and we had 2 track conditions in the same general vicinity. One of them we know was caused by the heat. The rail temperature was in excess of 130 degrees. There was a second one at Maryland Avenue, which may have been heat-related. We're not sure if it was heat-related or had to do with some construction in the area. And that's our report for June. Is there any questions?
Yeah. I don't assume we budget for a Triple Crown opportunity every year, do we? Can we make that part of the budget every year? Just to,
We make the winnings the
That's
cover.
right. That's right. That and a good Subway Series gets us lots of people to take the train. That's all we need. Okay, next.
I do have to comment, we are seeing some tremendous numbers in terms of service reliability, on-time performance.
Yep.
It's my compliments to all of operations. They're just doing a tremendous job. And we really do want to credit as well the equipment. The M7 fleet is performing really very well for us, and we'll continue to monitor that and try to ensure we can guarantee that performance as we go forward. With that, I'm going to turn to MTA police report.
If I could ask one
Sure.
thing that's not on the agenda,
Yes.
but memory serves, we're about, 5 or 6 months into the time frame when the increased record keeping with regards to the dual modes post the consultant report. You've been undergoing that. Any off-the-cuff thoughts, remarks, how that's going? The data is being input in the manner in which it was envisioned?
We continue to work on how to refine that data, and we are making progress with the fleet. We're going to present to you in the fall a more complete update, but I think you can see even in some of the MDBF numbers that we are making strides. It's a challenging fleet. We are going to be progressing some of the other issues that we have to look at, car body structural analysis, as well as parts availability as we go forward. But we do believe we are making progress in the basic maintenance practices of identifying problems, making sure we actually keep the equipment in until we identify the problem, we fix it. We're working with some of our suppliers to make sure that we can determine what is at fault in a piece of equipment or a component in the equipment. So yes, I think I'm pleased to make these remarks. We are making progress. We are seeing an improvement. But we do have some substantial issues in front of us.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to turn to Chief Kathleen Finneran for our police report. I do want to pause for a moment. We've had 2 significant law enforcement issues that have occurred on the railroad. One involving a sexual assault that was in progress, and I have to compliment our train crew, our engineer, and MTA police, our police officers, in a very tightly responsive way. They were able to really interrupt this crime in action and rescue, I think, the victim from even more severe attack or consequences of the attack. And I just have to compliment how well everybody did in those extreme circumstances with quick response, using equipment, our new cell phones, police being right there and able to respond. We also had a unfortunate incident at another station involving an assault with a weapon. There was a stabbing. The police were able to make an arrest within days of that incident. So again, I want to compliment Kathleen, real teamwork between all of our train operating personnel and law enforcement to a degree that we really just have to compliment them. We will be asking the train crew, engineer, and police officers to attend the board meeting for a special recognition. So, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you for those words, too. The first thing I'd like to bring to your attention is a slight change in the crime report. It's a change in our reporting system, and it only includes the felony counts on those charges. That can be found on page 40 in the book. As Ms. Williams was stating, in cooperation with train operations and all, I'd like to report that we had a detail in place, I had mentioned, for the Belmont Stakes to ensure the safety of everyone traveling that day. In addition, for the month of June, we had details in place for the 13 Met home games, including the Subway Series, and the Queens Interlocking Project, the major weekend that was done in June. And we're working tonight on the Billy Joel concert and the concert Friday night also at Shea. And we're planning for the August track outage and for the U.S. Tennis Open, which will be in September. So when we do all of that in coordination with railroad operations, it's to have no impact on the system. So thank you.
Thank you. And on speaking on behalf of the members of the committee, our deep gratitude to your personnel and to Vinnie's personnel on those two incidents. They're unfortunate that they happen, but fortunate that we were able to respond so quickly to ensure that other activities did not take place of a criminal nature. So please, on behalf of the full committee, our thanks to both your personnel and your personnel in that regard, and please let them know of our great, deep gratitude in that regard. It's very important, and I'm glad to hear that they will be coming to the board meeting next week.
Okay, and at
Capital
this
program?
time, yes, we'll turn to, we have Tom DeMaria on vacation, and Ed Huey, his deputy, will present our report.
Good morning. For the month of June, we have 3 highlights and an information item. The first highlight is a design completion for the rehabilitation of Port Washington Branch bridge abutments and retaining walls. That contract award we expect in January of '09. The second highlight is design completion also for the Babylon Car Wash. That facility will be designed to wash both the electric and the diesel trains with automatic wash process. It also includes a lot of environmental sustainability elements, including water recycling, rainwater collection, drip pan collection systems, oil water separators, and a use of 50% post-construction recycled steel. That construction award we expect in December of '08. The third highlight is a construction start, which is the replacement of the roofs at Hillside, the 4 major roofs there. We expect construction completion in October of 2010. The original roof was black. The new roof will be white with an SRI index of 109, which is a very cool roof. What does that mean, an SRI? It's the solar reflectance index. Anything above 100 is very good. It's 109. The information item this month is the MTA Police Facility in Central Islip. June was a very, very busy month for us. We had a design completion. A contract advertisement was put out, the bidders conference and site tour, and the site tour participation was very strong. We expect, we have right now scheduled the bids for July 21st, and we expect to schedule award in September.
Thank you.
At this time, we're ready for our information items. If you turn to page 47, while there was some discussion at last month's Finance Committee regarding the capital plan amendment, I did want to include for our committee an overview of our plan amendment. So we have an informational staff summary included in the materials. Just by way of background, the last plan amendment was approved by the MTA Board in December 2006. It was approved by CPRB in March 2006. I'm just checking those dates. So there was a plan amendment approved by CPRB, then something went to the MTA Board, and no action has happened after that. This plan amendment is occurring near the close of our current capital program, which is scheduled to end in 2009. We, in our balancing of the end of the program, have tried to address increases in construction costs and opportunities to refine our current spending plans. We also wanted to look at what could we commit funds to during this time period. The plan adds 17 new projects. The projects we think that we'd like to highlight for you and focus on improved customer safety include the M7 threshold plates and the Penn Station platform modifications for a total of $3.9 million. A number of projects also enhance ADA accessibility. We're focused on elevator replacement at Flatbush Avenue, new elevators at Flushing Main Street, and new elevators in Queens Village Station. As you may recall, we did complete elevator and station rehabilitation at Rosedale, and we're trying to develop a circumference of locations in Queens where our riders could board the Long Island Railroad at an accessible station. With regard to customer satisfaction issues, we would note that we are including in the program funding for M7 horn modifications and certain Ronkonkoma parking rehabilitation. I would note that the plan does allocate LaGuardia funds, and we've highlighted in the staff summary where those funds fund particular projects. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I know you've heard some of this before.
Questions? Comments from anyone? Jim and Vinnie? Nancy? Okay. This is the amendment to the current capital plan.
That's correct.
We'll now be coming forward at some point with the new capital plan for the next period of time, and depending obviously on how much money we get will depend on the priorities we can fashion at that moment in time. But this is, a project and a series of projects to try and make sure that the projects which we've started can finish, and obviously add some new projects that can be done in a reasonably quick manner,
Right.
so that we can improve customer service in that regard, especially at Penn Station, obviously, where the great multitude of our customers end up going to some degree. Okay.
And that's correct. This is the 2005 to 2009. We, of course, look forward to a fully funded, robust program for 2010 through 2014.
As we all do.
Can't miss the chance to put that out there. Also included in our information items at page 64 is our 2008 audit summary for our environmental audit. I would like to highlight a number of initiatives. Of course, you just heard Ed refer to the hillside white roof. That's also noted on page 69. And we are very focused on moving forward with the Babylon train wash as we continue to ensure that we have water recycling and other environmentally sound practices for our car wash opportunity. In terms of accomplishments, I did want to note that one important Babylon substation remediation program has taken place, and we're looking for closure by New York State DEC on that one. We have other substation remediations that will be going forward as well, and we work in lockstep with New York State DEC on those. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to address those.
Any questions from anyone? Okay.
At
Next.
page 70, we have included a staff summary which provides for you our schedule adjustments that are coming in the next several months. I have to pause and I have to clearly talk about, and I promised Public Affairs that I would say it at least a couple of times. We will have a main line shutdown on August 23rd and August 24th. There will be no service on the main line from Jamaica to Mineola. We will provide substitute service by busing. That will affect our service at Oyster Bay, Huntington, Port Jeff, Ronkonkoma branch customers. Also Hempstead branch, because that's a parallel track in the area we're working. we will require busing as well. So we intend to have a media...
Are you going on vacation these 2 days?
No, actually, I will be back from vacation, but I want to ensure that the public, the media, and everybody is aware. This is a major impact on our service. There will be no mainline service on that weekend from Jamaica to Mineola. That's a very...
Both ways.
Both ways, a huge project for us. There's no other way to accomplish this. We looked at every type of track configuration and cutover we could. There's no other way to do it. The Queens interlocking will be completed in its major portions when we do the cutover on that weekend. In addition, I do want to note that, of course, we have had to adjust schedules during the summer. Many customers have contacted us through letters and email to say, where's my train? You know, they're missing or their schedule's been adjusted by several minutes. We will be able to go back to our more regular schedules in September, and this staff summary does highlight that we return to our schedules, but we still have additional track work that will go forward in the fall. So when we restore schedules, there will still be some adjustments in other areas for track work. So the staff summary highlights that Public Affairs will be using C-Drop's website, other media contacts to ensure that everybody knows what the schedule changes are, including the fact that there will be no service on August 23rd through August 24th on the main line from Mineola to Jamaica. I'm going to pause for a moment. Ray did mention the Queens interlocking project. And how much we got done in June. I just want to pause for a moment and ask you to take a look at the wonderful pictures that we were able to provide you. On the front page, this is one thing I'm especially pleased to point out. At the top corner, you see the track with the curves right here.
Right.
If you look down here, you will see the same track now straightened out. So that is the Belrose bump, and it has been removed on that track. There is an adjacent track which we will also be straightening out, and the cutover between the two tracks, ensuring that we have great functionality for the future, will be moved a little further east. So again, this visually can show you the impact of how important this track work is for track reliability, service reliability. By taking out that bump, the curves in the track, we can now increase the speed of the trains. They've always operated over those areas with certain speed restrictions. So we're delighted with the progress. The track crews have done an enormous amount of work. We're working to do this in neighborhoods at night. We're trying to keep our workstation contained and our work effort in a way that doesn't annoy our neighbors. And they've been very successful. And for the fourth time, I am going to mention there is no service on the weekend of August 23rd and 24th because of this Queens interlocking cutover. No service between Jamaica and Mineola. Okay, Public Affairs, I said it at least 4 times. With that, I am going to note that we have our gap mitigation program highlighted on page 74. We have met with the task force and brought the gap task force up to date. We appreciate the time and energy you put into this, going into more detail. What we've provided in the materials here is an overview. One of the most important things we want to identify for you, just as highlights, as we've begun work on moving the centerline track standard to 5 feet 7 inches. We've also begun work, particularly in Syosset, on addressing the vertical gap, trying to move to a standard where we lower the disparity in height between the platform and the train, so that we begin to close that vertical gap and try to get more level boarding. We also are working with a hazard resolution sort of a consultant to help us identify hazards and ways in which they can be resolved. If you have any questions, we have greater detail on this, and we'd be happy to provide it.
Nope.
Okay, with that, I'm going to turn to our procurements. There are 8 procurement actions included in this month's package totaling $21.7 million. There are 4 items in the non-competitive section totaling $18.3 million, and they include a non-competitive contract to General Electric Transportation in the amount of $18.1 million for the purchase and repair, for purchase of repair and replacement parts required for the M3 cars, as we continue to maintain those cars and ensure reliability. May I please have a vote on the non-competitive procurements?
Are there any questions on the first 4 items? Everybody okay? Nancy, you make the motion to approve the first 4?
Yes, I so moved.
Second. Anybody? All in favor? Okay. Next.
There are 4 items in the competitive section totaling $3.4 million. They do include a contract modification to our competitively let contract, which is a joint venture between 2 companies. We want to extend the time of that contract for uniform garments. We will then move forward with a joint procurement, possibly with Metro North, and we will be working to develop more uniform requirements. If you'll understand what I'm saying, we're trying to determine whether there are some opportunities to make the uniforms more parallel, to reduce the number of items in our uniform inventory. So we're putting together, during this time period where we extend the contract, a little bit of a task force just to focus on uniform requirements. And the second item that I wanted to highlight in the competitive section, which is one that we had a number of speakers addressing today, we request approval to issue a contract modification to our consultant on the Mainline Corridor project, Jim Harris, in the amount of $1.3 million. Of that, $1.2 million actually addresses work that's been obtained from them to analyze, review, and draft sections of the preliminary draft environmental impact statement, and a reconciliation of bills for prior work. But in addition to that, we have identified $100,000 that we would like to have funded so that we can ask Jim Harris to make an examination of possible near-term track, train, platform, and/or signal options that support increased capacity in the main line. And we want to be able to implement and effectuate those capacity improvements by the start date of East Side Access Service, which is scheduled for February 2015. We have a lot of material that we've gathered about the main line. We have additional information that we can look at along the main line, and we think it's a very prudent step at this time to identify any measures that in the near term can be implemented that support our track capacity on the main line or reduce congestion on the main line. So we ask for your support of that item. We would ask for a vote on the competitive procurements.
Why don't we make a motion to approve, and then we'll have the comment?
So moved.
Okay, second. Comments? Jim? Vinnie?
It certainly is a bit more than a bit troubling to hear that mainline third track is being or potentially being deferred. I mean, it's a project that must happen. If you'll forgive the analogy, it's the island has basically a clogged artery, and third track is the angioplasty. It's something I've been doing this for 7 years, and it's really blown my mind all this time that we do not have the kind of throughput that we need to get people back and forth. I think, broadly the people of the railroad do a yeoman's job all up and down to do the best they possibly can every day, but they can only do so much if not given the economic or the financial support they need to undertake and complete projects like third track. I'll keep it at that for the moment.
I wrestled with this resolution not with regard to the $1.2 million to pay for the work, which obviously has been done, but with regard to the $100,000 of new money or earmarked money for the short-term improvements. Not because I don't believe that the short-term improvements are beneficial to find, and not because I don't believe that the short-term improvements may be beneficial to implement, but because the perception that has been given and taken, more taken than given, by some, is that the short-term improvements will now substitute for a third track. And I know it's my feeling, and I think it's the feeling of the other members of this committee, is that that will not happen. No short-term improvements will be made over my vote, and I won't speak for anybody else, that do not complement the implementation of the third track project. They will not substitute for the implementation of the third track project, and I'd amend the resolution if I felt it was important to say that, but I think the minutes will reflect that. And no funds will be used from the $200 million which is now set aside for third track, or from any money that is set aside in the 010 to 014 plan that will not be used to implement third track. If there are short-term improvements that can be made, we should make them, obviously, because we need the capacity improvements. And with that, I agree wholeheartedly with the President. But we have to make sure that whatever improvements we make can be implemented in and coordinated with third track. Because it's my opinion, and I think the other opinion of the members of the committee, is that the third track project is on schedule and will remain on schedule, and that we will do everything possible to make sure that the necessary funds are earmarked by MTA to ensure that the project stays on schedule. In my opinion, third track is the most important railroad project we are doing at the moment. Unfortunately, we're not doing it as quickly as we all would have hoped, and there are a variety of reasons for that, but notwithstanding that, it is the most important project we have. And it is, in my opinion, the highest priority that we have. So with the caveats that we will allow the funds to be set aside, but that no funds will be used from the third track budget unless the short-term projects can be incorporated into the regular third track construction, and that third track is and will remain on schedule. And I would also ask, because of its importance, I know on page 44 we do a capital report each month. Mr. President, I'd like to include third track on that list each month so that the people of Long Island can see exactly where that project is, what is happening to it, what may or may not be necessary to make sure it happens. And with those caveats, because of its importance, and because I believe we should look at the short-term improvements, but we have to make sure that they complement rather than substitute, I will vote yes. Everybody else? Everybody else?
To summarize, what I think what I think you're saying is we don't want to spend $1 on something along that corridor that we'll have to tear up in 2 years,
Right.
and, for lack of a better word, pave over.
Right.
Okay. I think that's a
I
fantastic
think
idea.
that's the way we're going to look at it, and then we'll go from there.
I would also like to respond and say that we clearly agree with your view, Commissioner, that in no way are short-term improvements a substitute for the third track. Third track gives the railroad flexibility, it gives the railroad capacity. Capacity equals reliability. The most important thing to our customers, every customer survey we do always focuses on give us reliability. No matter what the short-term improvements are that we might identify, none of those will give us the true capacity of a third track. There's no way to substitute for a third track, for example, in being able to increase trains that go in the reverse peak
Right.
direction. We must have a third track for that type of operation. We are the premier commuter railroad in the United States in terms of size. As you've always heard me say, I don't want to just be the biggest, I want to be the best. The way to do that is to ensure that our infrastructure can support the ridership demands that we anticipate in the future. Third track remains a highest priority for us. We are taking this step only as a way of ensuring that we maximize the East Side Access investment that's being made so that we can get the best benefit when that opens in 2015. What are the things that we might be able to do that certainly have to complement the third track initiative that are more short-term in terms of scope and delivery? So with that, we thank you for your support.
And I think the people of Long Island are voting with their tickets. And every month we hear more and more people are using the railroad, sometimes substantial. They're not only using it regular commutation, they're using it for special events. And the Belmont and Shea Stadium and tonight is another perfect example of that. The railroad is an integral part of Long Island, both to and from the city, but also to and from Long Island, for those people who live and work on the island. And for my friends from the city, I'll include Queens in the Long Island. That's our usual discussion in that regard. But we just wanted to make sure that people understand that project is essential and will be done on its current schedule. Anyone else?
No. I moved it. I want to second, I know I can't second the...
Sentiments?
Thank you. With that, I think we're...
We need a second
Second
on the procurement.
On the procurement, I second the procurement. All in favor of the procurements? Aye. With those caveats, I think we're finished. Motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
So moved. Thank you very much.